How we doing, fellas? My name is Wolf, and I got asked for more gameplay in the build guide, so I am going to shut up for a second, do a little bit of dungeon clearing for all of 30 seconds. Well, sucks to be you, I guess. And then I will explain the build, so enjoy the show.
I need time to do that. Need more time. I'm out of energy. I don't have enough energy. I need time to do that. I need more energy.
And if that didn't get you interested, I don't know what will. Welcome to my penetrating shot rogue. This is the Diablo 4 beta, of course. Our man is going to have a little conversation with us. But this is the character I have been running with the entirety of the beta so far. Taking a little bit of time off to play some of the other classes. I will be putting out a barbarian video as well as a sorcerer. I was gonna say wizard, but no, it is sorcerer videos as well, but this is the one that I have been primarily playing. I was speccing out for a barrage setup, and then I dropped a dagger that changed my entire beta. I dropped a legendary that gave me the affix. Whenever penetrating shot damages an enemy, 2 additional arrows split off to either side. These side arrows deal 78% of penetrating shots base damage and do not split. Now, this is a aspect that can be unlocked in the Codex of Power here. If you go to Offensive and have a look through here, you'll find it in there. However, you can also get a lot of these just via legendaries. So I dropped this dagger that had this on it. I extracted the thing from it, and the damage on it went up if I put it on a bow. So, your boy went out and found a bow with damage to distant enemies, because of course, penetrating shot you want to use at a distance. Bows also have flat damage to distant enemies. Rolled dexterity on it, because main stat is the most important thing to get you higher damage in Diablo 4 at the moment, from my experience. And I just threw it on there and made the best bow I have possibly been able to find. I've also upgraded it 3 times. I can't upgrade it 4 times, unfortunately, because of one of the material requirements we can't get. But with that being said, that is our little quick introduction. Let's dive deeper into the build, and I will put a little bit of gameplay up here on screen so that you can see it whilst I talk about the character. Alright, with that, let's roll. So, we shall do skills first, and then I will explain the gear setup to you. Oh, shit. What am I grabbing? Alright, so, we are starting off with Heartseeker and the Enhanced Heartseeker. You need to put 2 points somewhere up here to be able to unlock the rest of it. You can put it in Forceful Arrow if you'd like for the extra vulnerable here, but I was finding that the Heartseeker critical strike chance would give me a higher chance to proc a crit pen shot, which would just blast everything, as I'm sure you saw, because Enhanced Heartseeker makes it so when it crits, you gain increased attack speed, double this amount if the enemy is vulnerable. There are some times where you fuck up the combo, or you mess things up a little bit and you run out of resource, so spamming a little bit of Heartseeker, not entirely too bad, especially if it's single target. It'll increase your crit strike chance against whoever you're shooting by 3% for 4 seconds, up to 15%. So a little bit of filler damage there. Could go for Forceful Arrow if you want to do that as well. Then, Penetrating Shot, I have 5 out of 5 now. I have learned that you can overcap skills, so I was kind of making a bit of a mistake. So you should have as many points in Penetrating Shot as you can get. You want to go 5 out of 5, and then you want to get it on gear. I, at the moment, have 5 out of 5 and put the point elsewhere to expand a little bit. But on my gloves, I have +1 rank of Penetrating Shot. That is the best place I've found to get +1 on that. I don't know the other spot you can do it. Might be rings, might be necklace. Not entirely sure. Don't quote me on that one. But you are going to want to get this as high as possible, so that would be 6 out of 5. Some people have said they've gone up to 7 out of 5 on other skills, but of course I'm at 5 out of 5 because I'm a moron. But, anyways, the augments I go for are Enhanced Penetrating Shot. This is where things get real stupid. Penetrating Shot deals 20% increased damage per enemy it pierces. So, what this means is if you line up the shot, which you're going to be doing a lot, you're going to be moving to line up a huge penetrating shot. You're going to want to put the boss at the end, because it's like Boar from Borderlands, if you've ever played it. You ever played Zero. You put a bunch of enemies in front of the boss, shoot the pen shot through the boss, and each enemy, it goes 20, 40, 60, 80, 100, bang, into the boss. If that crits, that's like a 4K crit, boss just disappears, or elite disappears. Couple that with some of the other stuff, plus the side arrow as well, will do 78% of its base damage and not split, so the side arrows will also do a bunch of extra damage on top of that. It just gets hilarious. And then, if Penetrating Shot damages at least 3 enemies, which as you were saying, it was killing everything, your next shot has 20% increased crit chance, which is hilarious. Much better than the Advanced Penetrating Shot, in my opinion, because the Elite Knockdown's kind of whatever, really. Then over in the agility section, we aren't doing anything here, but we are going to be using dash from gear. We have 2 item count from that, but we're going to want agility or plus dash. So we have plus rank of agility here, and we have plus dash here. I was trying to get boots without +1 rank of dash, but couldn't really pull that off. So that is going to be our movement skill. And then we're going to make our way down, and we're going to have Concealment. Concealment will give us 40 energy with the enhanced stealth. And the skill that breaks Concealment will always be a guaranteed crit. Guaranteed crit with Penetrating Shot that over-penetrates per enemy. When you go into stealth, enemies can't track you and don't move. So you can go into stealth, line up the shot, bang, boss dies. It's almost better than sex, I'll be honest with you. It is quite good. And then, of course, we have a couple passives slotted in here. So, critting an enemy grants movement speed. Going to stealth also grants 25% movement speed. There's another legendary that will give you movement speed if you're unstoppable. And Concealment makes you unstoppable, so you'll get even more movement speed in stealth if you want to run that as well. But basically, you will open with Pen Shot. You open with Pen Shot that is Shadow Imbued. And then after that, that'll be 35 energy, so you can conceal to reset yourself back to full energy. And then the concealed shot will be a guaranteed crit that just blasts everything. And we got 2 points in Exploit. You deal 12% increased damage to healthy and injured enemies. We're going mostly for healthy here because we're trying to get big one-shot damage, right? So as much damage to full HP targets as possible means the single shot that rips through gonna do even more damage. That first hit that rips through all the enemies into the elite gonna hit even harder with Exploit here. So we want to try and get that up even higher if we can. And then moving downwards, we have the fun stuff. We have the 1 point in Shadow Imbuement, and then we have your 25% crit strike chance against injured enemies infected by Shadow Imbuement. Shadow Imbuement is going to imbue your weapons with Shadow, obviously, but you'll get 2 skill uses with Shadow Imbuement here. And that will work on our Rain of Arrows, our Penetrating Shot, and our Dash. So when you put up Shadow Imbuement, do not dash, don't use your movement skill, because otherwise you're going to have a very, very bad time, since it's going to take off one of your imbues, and that is very, very well spent with either Rain of Arrows or Pen Shot instead. Now what Shadow Implement does is it's what makes everything explode. because when you hit something with an imbued shadow skill, it'll infect that enemy for 6 seconds, and won't do anything on its own, but infected enemies explode on death, dealing 220 damage to all surrounding enemies. If the infection expires before the enemy dies, it'll deal 220 damage to only that enemy. Now, fun fact about Shadow Imbuement. It applies not only to the ability, but to every projectile that ability creates. Yeah, just let that one sink in for a second, and you'll see why this is stupid. Because you saw how many projectiles it was making, because you see, the fun thing about this legendary, right? Whenever it damages an enemy, 2 additional arrows split off to either side. It pierces. Every enemy that gets hit by a pen shot creates 2 additional arrows. Those 2 additional arrows are also shadow imbued. So you can shadow imbue and, like, you know, shadow infect a screen and a half with 1 shot, because of just the amount of projectiles on screen that go everywhere. Well, the first shot sets everything up if it doesn't kill it all to begin with, and the second shot that you know, conceal to crit just slams through everything and deletes it all. It's hilarious. I love this build so fucking much, you have no idea. And to top that all off, you also, the primary explosion will make enemies vulnerable. So then the second shot will deal extra damage. The second shot with concealment will deal extra bonus damage. But it gets better, because we have Shadow Crash. So on a lucky hit, shadow damage has a 10% chance to stun for 5 seconds. Cool. But consuming shadows. This is what makes or breaks Rogue, in my opinion. Each time you kill an enemy with shadow damage, you generate 30 energy. 30 energy. Now, you could knock this down if you're mobbing and put the points elsewhere, but this makes it so you can retain capped energy so easy. Oh, with the build I'm talking about, yes, I am, my friend. But yeah, this thing is so good, because your shadow imbue will hit everything with this thing, right? So 1 shot kills everything and restores all your energy back to max. So you can just perpetually, you know, pen shot dash, pen shot dash, pen shot dash. If you get more cooldown reduction to keep shadow imbue up more often, it'll be even better. And you can also add explosion damage to this by ranking it up more. Obviously, I'm putting more points and more focus into pen shot so I can kill the bosses, as opposed to the AoE effects of shadow imbue. Bossing is the only angle that's kind of difficult, because obviously we don't really have enablers for shadow imbuement. We're mostly just stuck spamming pen shot on the boss. However, we have Inner Sight from my specializations here, which, when attacking marked enemies, will fill up your Inner Sight gauge. The Inner Sight gauge is down here, and what that'll do is when that gauge fills up fully, you'll gain unlimited energy for 4 seconds. When you're targeting only a boss, the boss will be marked for Inner Sight, meaning you can perpetually spam your penetrating shot, and then proc your Inner Sight on the boss, have infinite energy, and just slam pen shots into him until he dies, which is spectacular. And from there, we move down to Rain of Arrows. Now, Shadow Clone might be the better option here, I'll be honest with you. I played around with it a little bit, though, and it kinda sucks for AoE. Single target-wise, Shadow Clone might be absolutely insane, because it mimics your actions for 15 seconds. But, so single target-wise, you could Shadow Imbue and double pen shots and all this stuff. But Rain of Arrows is just more fun. Honestly, like, Rain of Arrows is more fun. Rain of Arrows can be shadow imbued, so it pops everything in the area. Rain of Arrows will get increased effects of imbuement skills with Prime Rain of Arrows. And the second wave will also knock down everything, including most bosses, for 3 seconds, which allows you to just rail into them with free extra damage. So, all around exceptional. That is the skill tree setup. Feel free to mix and match and mess around with whatever you'd like, but let's cover my gear. So I put as much as possible into flat dexterity to get as high of attack power as possible. Obviously, I built the best bow that I could. We want to go for as much damage to distant enemies and flat dex as humanly possible. That's the entire setup. The thing about Diablo 4 is you have to kind of think that legendaries are just augmented rares. Because all of these things, you'll see that most of them are imprinted. You want to find a decent rare, then extract what you want to put on it, extract things off of the legendaries to get the aspect, and then put the aspect onto the rare. So for example, this helmet was a rare helmet that had life on kill, dex, max life. So I got a legendary that had critical strikes with marksman skills. Obviously my Heartseeker and Penshot are both marksman skills. Have a chance to grant a free Dark Shroud, and Dark Shroud is an ability that will give you damage reduction. Just spin around you, and every time you get hit, it'll absorb a little bit of the damage. So a little bit of survivability there. My chest piece, I've been trying to replace and wasn't able to make a better one, because that's why I haven't upgraded it yet. It has dex and all stats, as well as increased armor for 4 seconds, stacking when you deal any form of damage. Now, I found that this doesn't actually stack all that quick, so I was going to replace my chest piece. But primarily, most of my stats are dexterity and all stats, just to get as much dex as possible, because I'm at 220 right now, which is beyond absurd. Also, when you upgrade items at the blacksmith, it'll upgrade all of the stats. It'll upgrade every single piece of it. So my chest piece here will get an extra point of dexterity, because when I upgrade it, it'll go to 9 dexterity and 4 all stats, right? So instead of having something else there, I get the extra point of dex when I upgrade my gear. So most of it, I'm trying to find dex all stats anywhere I can. If I can't find that, it's just flat dex. So gloves, I have flat dex, pen shot rank, make sure to get that, and then critical strike chance, and then imprinted using an agility skill, which an agility skill is my dash, will reduce the cooldown of your next subterfuge skill, which is concealment, by 20%. Using a subterfuge skill increases the damage of your next agility skill. We don't really care about that. But passively, this will knock the cooldown of concealment down to about 16 seconds, meaning you get the energy burst quicker, you get the guaranteed crit back quicker, etc, etc. Simple enough. My legs, these are just the best legs I've run across here, is high stats, max life, base stats across the board. You take less damage from CC'd enemies. Whenever a CC'd enemy deals direct damage to you, gain movement speed for 2 seconds. Then the boots. Dealing damage to a vulnerable enemy has a 41% chance to daze them. Daze is enemies cannot attack or use skills but are still able to move. Now I'm not sure, but if daze counts as crowd controlled, we're in business. The reason this is so good is you are inflicting vulnerable via the first explosion of Shadow Imbue. So everything that explodes is vulnerable, right? So you have a 41% chance on every shot to daze everything. Daze everything on the screen, which will then couple with my ring here to restore 3 of your primary resource when you CC an enemy. You'll get 3 energy back every time you daze something. So I almost might not even need the shadow on kill thing. If I'm dazing the entire screen, I could almost put that somewhere else. I got this Ring of the Umbral from the world boss that I took down twice. This was on the first kill. I got one of these and put that on one of my rings here. But yeah, so that has +1 rank of dash. You can get rid of that if you want and just keep a necklace with +1 agi. If you want to, you can do that as well. But dexterity there, obviously bow, I said distant damage, dex, and then put the imprint on bow, life on kill in the socket, so we just never die because we're shitting on everything. And then the rapid chain, I had this show up last night as well, which basic skills, which is my auto attack, will gain 39% increased damage. There's a modifier and a legendary somewhere, I don't think I have it on me. But what it does, here it is. Loop of the Expectant. Attacking enemies with a basic skill increases the damage of your next core skill cast by 9%, up to 50%. What I was gonna do was take this off of this ring and put it on one of my one-handed weapons to give me the bonus as well. So then my auto attacks have increased attack speed, and since obviously sometimes you run out of resource and fuck up in single target scenarios, when you're spamming Heartseeker, you're increasing your crit strike against that enemy with, you know, faster attack speed, so you're stacking the Heartseeker buff, and then you're also stacking the core skill damage here. Because obviously you're using a basic. So that'll take, what, 5 shots, and then 50% damage on the next pen shot, as well as 15% increased crit strike chance on that next pen shot that comes out, that just does turbo damage to the boss or to whatever it is you're stacking against. And then I also have gain 15 of your primary resource for every 20% of your life that you heal. Obviously, we have life on kill, which will give us resource back, but we're not taking all that much damage, so we're not really healing all that often, so that's not as great. It's probably better for Barbarian. That dropped off to Butcher. And then on my 2 weapons here, I just have Dex. I have 2 swords with critical strike damage, and I have Dex all stats, core skill, and then Dex all stats, distant. This is as good of a character as I can really feasibly get. The best way that I could upgrade this further is obviously to take off this expectant and put that on one of the swords, and then put something else on one of the swords as well. I'm not entirely sure what I would do, because there's definitely 1 slot left available. There's 1 legendary that's, you drop a smoke bomb at the end of your dash, or a smoke grenade at the end of your dash, which will daze everything. Which that would also, you know, CC if it's dazing, so that would restore my resource on dash. That would be one of the things I would also put on my other weapons. And then, of course, I would upgrade every single piece to 3 out of 3. But it's 85k gold for the 3rd upgrade. So I only did that to my bow. And, of course, I've been farming gold ever since. But I do have to do a couple of other things because I want to play Wizard, and I played Barbarian earlier, so unfortunately I can't fully pimp out the character. Maybe I'll do that in the next beta next week, but let me tell you, this character fucks. That is going to be all for my Penetrating Shot Rogue, one of my favorite characters I've played in action RPGs in a very, very long time. Hopefully you can manage to drop cool legendaries yourself, or potentially just enjoy playing Penetrating Shot. Thank you guys for listening, and I shall see you in the next one. Take care.